In today's episode of the VARBAR, we will analyze this season's first North London derby, rank our individual derbies and rivalries in football, have a quick game week 4 rundown, and City will see the Premier League in court on Monday.
Hey, guys.
Check complete. Let's head over to the bar.
Yes. And we're back again with another episode, brand new episode. Change episode of the VARBAR, new formation. Then there was just 3 of us, of course, but the same old agendas. I would like to introduce, first of all, the gaffer, Mr. Walk Through Walls, vice captain of the Gooners Massive, J to the Mace. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, man. But by the way, who's the captain?
You already know, man. That's this.
Hey, okay. Cool. All right, cool. I'm good. How you doing? How y'all doing?
I'm good, man.
I'm good, my bro.
We're good. Obviously, last but certainly not least, man, let me introduce the Shoreditch Bandit, a retiree of the if it ain't snowing, he ain't going, passion merchant, chat shit merchant.
Come on.
When he loses an argument, he runs bets merchant.
Come on.
Toasted, aka Toast.
That's all of that. Man? That introduction was all of it was defamation in it, man. So I ain't
defamation,
that
yeah.
Still.
Nah,
defamation.
Those that know you know you, man. Those that know you know you, man. How you doing, man?
Bro, I'm good. Yeah, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. North London derby weekend, Premier League back after the international break, innit, man? Good to be back.
Yes, sir. Obviously, I'm the host with the absolute most, Andrew, aka Rapping Drew. Yeah, man. I've been good as well, man. I've been It's been a decent week. I've taken up a few gigs. I know some of you on socials have seen it. I'm like coaching one of my son's football team on the 8th. Know what I mean? So man's a gaffer.
A nice interception and finish. I saw that still.
Yeah. He's doing his thing still, but I don't think he's from what I've seen, I don't think he's a striker in it. I think we have to coach him to be a defender, you get me? Because he's quite strong and big and loves a tackle. But yeah, man, coaching young kids, it's a different ball game, but it's nice, man.
I was gonna delve into that. From your experience, because I watch whenever I go to see a friend of mine, he plays under 10. I look at your coach and they're very relaxed and calm with how they speak to the kids. It feels like they don't use the iron glove anymore. It's more of like, come here. This is how you do it, kind of a soft touch. How is it from your experience?
Yeah, I think that's the overall grassroots thing that they're trying to apply now, where don't put pressure on the kids. It's all about having fun. Let them enjoy the game, because if you apply that pressure from young and scream at them and try to rule with an iron fist, it might hamper their development or it might stunt their love for the game, which I understand. I think if you was to ask me, I'm kind of in the middle kind of thing, where I understand that they're still learning the game. Some of them just started playing football. They can't do... They're just learning, basically. So you can't be too harsh on them at this particular age. So that's where I am. But at the same time, I've let the parents know as well, is that my goal is to see a significant improvement by come May. I'm trying to see these kids, knowing how to dribble properly, knowing how to at least pass. And I mean, just the basic things at this age, where I feel like if you look at academy level, like my brother-in-law, his son is already in an academy and he's the same age, but he has the tech already. So that's where I'm trying to get these kids to get closer to that level, man. But overall, man, it's just nice to see, man. Obviously, seeing your son playing football is a weird thing, because it's just like, shit, this used to be me like time ago. Then now he's doing this thing as well, man. And obviously young Eli's coming as well, soon come, man. So yeah, man, it was nice, man. It was nice. Feel me? J May soon come with Orion. Toast.
Come on.
Let's see, man. Let's see if football is his thing. Because no, I don't subscribe to you must play football. I'm like, just go follow what you do best. But of course but the thing is that when you're a kid, you need to get rid of that energy So of course, football becomes that outlet to get rid of energy, and then you get into a team, yada yada yada. But not everyone is meant to play football. So let's see how he takes to it.
Yeah, facts, man. Facts. But yeah, man, let's get to the shit, man. Obviously, that's what we came here for. North London Derby, the first edition of the 24-25 season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Arsenal
3-point lane.
Arsenal off the back of a draw, right? Draw against Brighton.
Brighton, yes.
Draw against Brighton. What did Spurs do? I didn't even follow Spurs. What did they do?
They won.
I think they lost.
Did they beat Everton? Oh no, they lost to Newcastle. That was game week 2. They lost to Newcastle. Their most recent result. Yeah.
They lost to or they beat Everton.
They beat Everton, then lost to Newcastle.
Then lost to Newcastle 2-1. Correct. They lost to Newcastle 2-1. So obviously both teams dropped points. Spurs at home. During the international break, there was hella dropouts from the Arsenal camp, which is safe to say Arsenal were a weaker side. So obviously neutrals and Spurs fans, they were probably confident of a Arsenal, not an Arsenal loss, but maybe another points dropped in this particular game. But it wasn't to be until obviously Gabriel stepped up, man. Yeah, you guys chat to me, man. Prior to this game, how were you feeling? No Odegaard, no Declan Rice. And don't give me that 3-point lane bullshit. Don't give me that, oh, it's only Tottenham. We beat them twice before. Don't give me that. Give me the real. How did you really feel coming into this game?
Mace, go on, man. I'll back you up. Pause.
I mean, I would start with what you mentioned. No Odegaard, no Declan Rice, no Calafiori. Of course, no Moreno because he's injured. He broke his shoulder. Even Common Zinchenko wasn't even on the bench. And, you know, that we were definitely depleted for that game. Yeah, I was, you know what, man? I was speaking to my brother-in-law this weekend, and I just said, bro, no matter what happens, we need to win this game. I don't care what happens, we need to win this game because we have City next. If we lose this or drop points, it's not going to be looking good for us for this season. So we need to win it. Not only that, we have to get, and this is very important to what this team has showed us. We have to get to the position as a team where we just have that mentality to win games, despite being depleted. The mentality is very important in a title-winning team. So those are the things which Arsenal showed me today. Yeah, and long may continue. I will dive into the game, but let Toast, give his own take on it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you obviously saw in the VARBAR group chat, I put 2-1 just before the game kicked off. I weighed it up all week. I've been like, wow, no Declan Rice all week. I've been like, wow, potentially not Odegaard, but I have to keep it a buck. Like Spurs, bro, the foundations are fairly fragile. FC, and I've been running that bar since Ange said it, and I really, really mean that. Like, if I'm really deep in it today, like it was a derby, and I knew they were going to kind of use the fans to try and kind of ginger them and get them up for the game. But pound for pound,
that didn't look like. Even the atmosphere didn't really look rocking like that, to be honest.
I just think at this point, pound for pound, we're the better team, man. Like we went to that stadium a couple of seasons ago and obviously got the dub. Last season, we got a dub, another 3-2. So knowing the side that we currently have been recently, like we've been building a lot of momentum in that stadium, and I expected us to win today, man. And I had a feeling just on the fact that our 10 and our 8 were missing, that it would come down to like a defensive game. Like if we defend well, if we don't like self-destruct, make mistakes, we'll win the game, man. And ultimately, it was one of those ones where Spurs are probably feeling confident, they're probably feeling themselves because they had the ball at times, but when Arsenal play in this manner, I always feel there's always an element of control that we have in the game, even if Spurs kind of are playing with the ball. I felt like that was one of those games today, and it was one of those ones where we just had to bide our time, wait for our moment. Man, as soon as Gabriel scored the header, it was ball game. I was like, we're not conceding to this team, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Son, nullified. Timber, locked up every person that went down the right wing. Solanke was just fouling people up and down. Like, he's I like Solanke. He's going to get busy, but no real goal threat today, man. And I mean, like, for me, in these sort of games, way back when, when crosses are getting pinged into the Arsenal box, corners are coming in, free kicks are coming in. I'm nervous. Now I'm comfy, man, because the team, they know what to do. Havertz is always going to be that near post header. Like, they mark their men well. They always have to give Raya protection. It's either like Trossard or somebody else always protecting Raya. Like, the team sets up, so defensively, and right now, man, we're just at a different level defensively, man. So yeah, proud of the team, man. Big performance. Expected a dub, got the dub. Yeah, man, I'm happy.
Yeah, just to piggyback off like your defense, the way you defend. I was like, obviously, me and the Liverpool guys who were hating backstage, and we kind of like, I kind of compare like Arteta to like a shit version of 04-05 Mourinho. And the only reason why I'm saying a shit version is because obviously he hasn't won anything yet. But in terms of like defensively, there's not many ways you can hurt Arsenal, and it's been like this since last season and coming up to this season as well. There's not many ways you can hurt Arsenal. It's difficult to hurt Arsenal. Whether you want to cross it in, Saliba or Gabriel are heading it away. Whether you want to play through the channels, through the middle, that's not happening because Saliba, Gabriel, or Declan Rice are up there. Whether you want to use individual brilliance, you guys got wingers that can, for the most part, that can match the good wingers in the league as well. So it's really hard to penetrate again. And besides that, you've got a capable goalkeeper who's been pretty good. You have to be honest. Man. He's been pretty good since he's come to Arsenal. So Arsenal, I think defensively, I know Shalom said defense win you games.
Defense
win you leagues. I think the defensive part, you got that unlocked. My only problem with Arsenal is, and I think this is probably not most people's problem, but like probably like if you were to ask City fans as well, like in terms of like your overall depth, in terms of like your overall like who's really gonna hurt us, who's really gonna, know what I mean? I don't have that yet from Arsenal on that side, whereas Mourinho had that even in his early days with Robert and Damien Duff, Drogba, Lampard. And I mean, I don't think Arsenal have too many of that going forward the other way. And it showed in this game and in many games, even last season, where sometimes set pieces bail you out. We call you Stoke, whatever, set piece merchants, whatever, but it's part of the game, right? It's all agenda. But is that not I don't want to say concern, but is that not kind of like a thing where would you not like to see more open play goals from you guys, especially when you face like physical sides like a City, like a Newcastle, etc.?
I'll be real, man. Like, it's a frustration to me that we didn't sign another winger this summer, like, or at least the winger that we wanted, and we didn't sign a 9. Because you're totally right, man. Like, Martinelli, goals or assists right now, he's struggling, man. He's been struggling from the back end of last season. Saka turns up every week, but I keep telling people he's not a score first winger. I don't see him as a score first winger. I don't see a situation where Saka should ever be the top scorer in your team. And then we have Havertz, who somewhat has established himself as a 9, but again, like, he's not somebody that I trust in like real kind of key situations in front of goal. So, and that's our starting front three, and none of them you can really call them an out-and-out scorer. And then we have someone like Odegaard, who's a 10, our starting 10 again, hasn't scored this season, had a nice purple patch of goals 2 seasons ago, but is not known for his goal scoring. So I think Arteta has just decided that this is the team we're going to be, man. It's going to be like a team effort. We're going to have to share the wealth when it comes to goals. We're going to have to create enough chances that we don't have somebody that's going to bag every week. It's going to be a different scorer every week. We saw this a lot last year in a lot of these really close games where the likes of Salibas and the likes of the Gabriels, the likes of the Trossards were popping up in really important moments, because there's no one I look at in the Arsenal team and I think, you know what? Okay, we need a goal. We're going to go to him. City have Haaland, you know. But Liverpool ultimately have Salah. I know they have other goal scorers, you know what I mean? I think this season Spurs will probably rely on Solanke quite heavily for the goals. We just don't have that, man. And would I love to have more kind of explosive players, and would I love to have that greater depth? Absolutely, because I'm of the opinion genuinely, and I'm not even being big-headed here, if we had those more explosive players and we had the 9 that I wanted, we'd win the league by like 6 or 7 points this year. And I think we would have won the league by 6 or 7 points last year if we had those same players. But we have what we have. I think Arteta's done a fantastic job with what we do have, despite the limitations in the eyes of a number of Arsenal fans. And yeah, man, unfortunately we have to just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot we can do. This is just the team that has been established, and this is what we have to go forward with.
Yeah, for me, I take a different view to what's basically how the Arsenal team are set. And I do agree with everything you've said, Drew, in regards to your summarization of Arsenal. I think you do need to look at what Arteta has done in regards to his transfers. Look at the most money spent. The most money he spent has been in our defense and Declan Rice, of course. So it's I think if you look at that, it tells you a lot about what Arteta wants to do for Arsenal. I think the way he looked at the team, his position is we need to fix the defense, the keeper first, before we do anything on going forward. So I think, and I hate saying this, I think it's basically a phase, like it will come. So he's fixed the defense, he's fixed the midfield. I think the next stage will be getting attackers. It's slow, it's frustrating, and I agree with Toast. I think if we had a better 9 and a more decisive winger, because Martinelli has just regressed. If we had a better 9 and a decisive winger, we would win this league 7.5 points. I think we did.
Jeez.
Because let me give you an example. City in both games against Brentford and against Ipswich, they went to go down very, very easily. And I said, City are going to blitz this team. Who scores? Who scores a hat trick? Who scores 2 goals? Haaland. He bells them out. He bells them out of both 2 games by the fact that he just scores goals, and that's what goals does to a team. When you have a striker that scores so many goals, you just create havoc and you win games.
And it makes an uncomfortable situation, because we're gonna dive into the City game later. But they were first half an hour, Brentford were onto them. Like, I was watching the City game and the Liverpool game simultaneously. They were onto them, bro. So like, but if you have that 9 hard, like a man automatic like Haaland, it's a cheat code, man. And I think they're the only team that have that.
And also, let's not be naive, because dare I say, Haaland is generational in regards to what he is. You wouldn't find that anywhere. That motor striker, you wouldn't find that anywhere. So dare I say, it is generational. So what City has is one of a kind. So I'm not necessarily after. I mean, I would love to have a Haaland, but I just would love to have a striker that scores, right? So that's basically where I see it. But for now, you just have to look at what Arteta has done. He spent a significant amount of money building up Arsenal's defense, and he's done that now. I think the next stage, annoying as it is to get strikers but and attackers, but we're gonna have to wait to get there, and that's just the frustrating part of it.
Yeah, man, it's a big frustration, man. You look at the top scorer list, like after the first 4 game weeks. Haaland's got 9 goals, and then it's just like a split tie between Madueke, Luis Diaz, John Duran, Mohamed Salah on 3 goals. You know what I mean? It's a 6-goal gulf after 4 games. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not asking for a Haaland. You know what I mean? Because they come once every 10 years, every 15 years. But yeah, I would have liked like an Ivan Toney or a Watkins who score a brace on the weekend to level that playing field, man. Because we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, if we don't win the league this season, Mace, we will look back on it, and I don't think anybody's going to say, we didn't have a good enough goalie, we didn't have a good enough the central defense, or we didn't have a good enough midfield, because like, it's going to come down to the attack, bro. I'm so certain of it, man. I'm so certain of it. And that's not to say that the attackers that we have are bad players, but yeah, man, it like the City game, City have a cheat code in the sense that they can go down in that first minute out of the game, and they don't need to panic, because they know when Ederson Moraes kicks the ball 60 yards and Haaland rolls his man, and then dicks it over the goalie. It's ball game after that. They whatever happens after that, like, do you know what I mean? And when you're Arsenal and you go a goal down in that sort of game, not having that cheap code striker, it's a bit of a grind. Do you know what I mean? To kind of get the 3 points after that, man. So, man, it's a big regret again for us to not have that kind of insurance policy 9. We'll see where we are in Jan. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I mean, I still feel as if it's a mistake.
But still, like you said, you know, Arteta has done well. The team has actually also done well to, you know, bypass that particular issue. You're now one of the top teams in the league now. So yeah, you've done well without it so far. But obviously the next step, this is what, you know, I think like maybe like your Liverpools and your Cities, probably the other teams, they, you know, you'll probably surpass them. But like the top teams in the league, they probably look at Arsenal like, okay, it's a collective thing and they'll probably beat us on a collective thing. But if we can manage their attackers, manage Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, we'll have a chance, you know what I mean? So chance. We still have to go through the defense. I want to talk about Spurs' role in this particular win because first of all, Spurs are disgusting. There are two teams that you can't rely on. There are two teams you can't rely on to do you a favor. That's United, this current iteration of United, and Spurs. Every single time, Spurs against City, Spurs against Arsenal. They're not. You can't hate watch when Spurs is involved, bro. And I feel like Spurs were extremely toothless because I felt like overall, I looked at the stats, like the possession stats. You guys had 36% possession, 36, but you looked comfy. Spurs didn't look like they dominated. How is that possible? You know what I mean? So do you guys feel like the way Spurs, obviously from the back to the middle and then go to the attack, they were extremely toothless. They couldn't muster any serious chance. Raya wasn't tested enough times despite them having all the ball. Do you feel like Spurs being passive, feeling like the bridesmaid? I don't know, man, but it kind of helped you guys eventually being comfortable in collecting that dub in the end, because I didn't think Spurs played their part in today's game at all to win. And like I said, when Werner came on, I knew, I
don't know, man. It's a weird one. I feel as if at least in recent seasons, there's been a gulf between Arsenal and Spurs, and at this point, it might be a mental thing, man. Because I'm watching that game and I'm not feeling nervous about like Spurs kind of really taking one of the chances that they were kind of creating at all in the game. Like Spurs today. I wasn't nervous, you know what I mean? I wasn't too stressed out, and I definitely feel as if they just see Arsenal as the like much superior team right now. And I'd say for the most part, the last 3 games have been like the same iterations of the same sort of players. Arsenal for the last kind of 3 seasons in this fixture have more or less had the same players. I'd say for the most part, Spurs as well, man. It's a good point, but I just feel as if Spurs right now, they're not too sure of themselves, you know what I mean? Like you saw the Leicester game where they dominated, didn't get the result. Then they had a bit of a dead rubber 3 points against Everton. And then they were kind of playing a really kind of tough. They played a tough game and they played okay. And they were in the game against Newcastle. But I don't like Spurs. Like I say it a lot. Spurs are not our mates right now. So for me, I go into this game expecting us to win every time now. And Spurs probably go into this game thinking that it's going to take a bit of a miracle. We're going to have to kind of have to be the best version of ourselves to win the game, man. And unfortunately, they weren't able to kind of establish that today.
And any final thoughts about this game? I
mean, I think tactically,
like any individual performances.
Just one second. I think tactically, Ange got it wrong. Right. So I'm going to ask you two a question. Right. You see the Arsenal midfield. There's no Rice. And you have Trossard, Jorginho, and Partey basically playing that kind of double pivot. Right? What do you think you should do when you look at those two? What do you think you should do? Drew, deal with that. What would you do if you were a manager?
First of all, you would stick. I would have played Sarr first of all. So overload the midfield and have runners, because I think when Sarr came on, there was a little bit more initiative. There was a little bit more drive and power in their midfield.
Bro,
Because prior to that, it was extremely passive.
Jorginho hasn't played a Premier League game. He hasn't, right?
Sure.
So clearly, this is a player who is.
It looked there as well.
It looked there as well.
He was fighting for his life.
You know what's crazy?
Precisely.
You know what's crazy?
Go ahead.
You make a great point, because we had our starting goalkeeper, we had our starting front three, we had our starting defense. It was actually, everyone kind of knew coming in that the game would be won or lost by the midfield battle. I personally thought that he might go for a more natural 10, like a Wanieri. I know it was an North London derby. I thought he kind of might just kind of give him a chance. Trossard ended up kind of playing there. I think Trossard kind of struggled a little bit, but I totally agree, man. Like Partey and Jorginho in that pivot, I guess if you want to call it that today, like an explosive midfield with runners, they could have been got at. Like I don't know if Bissouma's not fit.
No, Bissouma's injured.
He's injured. Bissouma's injured, but I completely understand the Sarr point, because like the athleticism that like Rice brings and that he covers in these sort of games, and like he puts out fires and gets you out of jail. I don't think Partey and Jorginho would have been able to provide that. And even more on a more separate note, I had a bet on the game today, obviously, and I had Partey to kind of get a yellow card today. And I didn't really see the Spurs midfielders run at him. Partey didn't commit one foul the whole game. He didn't need to commit a foul the whole game. And that's just saying everything. Do you know what I mean? Like in this is the sort of game that Madders and the other midfielders, they really need to kind of like run at our midfield. And I kind of felt as if, I don't know if this was intentional, but I found that a lot of the times, a lot of Spurs attacks just kind of came from their wings, particularly down the right wing. And Timber had his best game in an Arsenal shirt, man. So it just wasn't happening. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's a good observation, Shalom, for sure. I think someone made the point earlier that they feel as if Ange got his tactics wrong. And yeah, I think you could argue this was another reason.
It was shook, man. It was shook. But as far as derbies goes, man, obviously North London derby is one of the more entertaining derbies. It's pretty one-way street in terms of results-wise, but it's pretty entertaining. Even today as well, few fights, hella yellow cards here and there. I asked the guys to, give me a list of their top 5 derbies around the world in football. Sorry, so we'll just rank our 5s from 5 to 1. And starting with you, Mace, what derby have you got in 5th place?
In 5th place, I've gone for the Northwest Derby. You know what that is?
That's the United Liverpool?
Yeah, bang. Good spot. The reason why I've gone for that, just because of a very historical context. So before Alex Ferguson came into United, Liverpool were the most dominant English team, right? And at one point, Fergie was interviewed, and he said this, let me quote, "My greatest challenge is not what's happening at the moment," obviously focusing on what's the time he was interviewed. "My greatest challenge was knocking Liverpool off their fucking perch." And you can print that. I quoted that word for word. And of course, all the football knowers know what happened after that. Like United they've surpassed Liverpool.
Judge.
You can say what you want to say, but he said it and he did it. So I tip my hat to Fergie for that. I mean, in terms of the games, Liverpool United are always very entertaining. One of my takeaways, whenever Liverpool are playing really well and they meet United just has they just have something for Liverpool. You know it. They just have something for them. And it's always entertaining. So I guess you never, going back to your Spurs thing, one thing I would always bet on United against Liverpool is to cause an upset, especially when Liverpool are on the up. And for that, yeah, because when was that when you guys were doing well and Ten Hag came in and got like a 0-0 draw? Was that like 2 seasons ago, 2-3 seasons ago?
That was last season. Last season.
Okay, last season.
Yeah.
And then
even a couple years ago.
A couple years ago.
Sancho scored and they won 2-0.
Oh yeah, but that season we were poor.
To be fair, yeah, you were poor. But then again, even last season, you were going for the league.
Yeah.
You know, and you
that one is so bro.
Yeah. So that's why.
But fifth though, I've got the Northwest Derby way higher, you know. But
bro, I mean, for you, of course, it has more meaning to you. But for me, I'm only going to talk about derbies one that I've seen. I'm not going to talk about like them Brazilian things because I haven't seen.
I know Toad's got Boca Juniors and River Plate, and he ain't even watched them, man.
Bro, so I'm just going to keep it real. I'm going to keep a buck. Yeah, I like the Liverpool United just because of its historical meaning. And yeah, that's my number 5.
All right.
Do I list it off or do we just okay? Come.
We'll just go.
My number 5 is we're getting to the SPL for this one, innit, man? That's Celtic v Rangers, innit, man?
Old Firm.
Exactly. Old Firm derby. Obviously, a lot of people kind of see the Scottish League as like an extension of like the league in England. I mean, like people can kind of have their opinions on it. And me personally, I believe that like the Scottish Premier League is somewhere between like the Championship and League One in terms of like quality. I don't think all the teams can kind of compete for like Premier League status, apart from the 2 heavyweights in that league, which is Celtic and Rangers. Obviously, they're both kind of based in Glasgow. Both teams obviously have the most league titles in Scotland by like a country mile. It's not even close. We've seen Rangers go into administration, get relegated, come back up, and still be competitive enough to be the one either the first or second team in that league. And just from an entertainment perspective as well, you know you can bank on a Scott Brown or a Marcus having a yellow card. Like them
Japanese done at Celtic as well. They're running riot lately. Them,
you can bank on real entertainment. Like you can whenever there's a goal, whether or not it's Ibrox at the Celtic Park Stadium, the fans, like, bro, you can hear a pin drop before the ball hits the net, and then the fans are getting crazy. The tackles are flying in. You can expect at least 5 yellows on each side. Yeah, man. Even if you don't really follow Scottish football, when the Old Firm derby kind of comes on, you zone in, man. And it's funny because obviously even the police know how mad that derby gets because it's more time. It's always at 12 p.m. Do you know what I mean? They always do it nice and early in the day, so the fans can't get too drunk because that rivalry runs deep in Scotland, man. So yeah, man, for sure, that's in my top 5. So I put that at 5 right now.
Yeah. Obviously, for me, on my 5th, I've got the Klassieker, which is translated to English. It's called the Classic, and in the Dutch league, you got 3. The Classic is between 3 teams: Ajax, Feyenoord, and PSV, because they're the 3 most successful teams. But I'm talking specifically about Ajax and Feyenoord because that is the game where Dutch and some Belgians as well tune in for. Now, the history between Ajax and Feyenoord, it's like the Old Firm. It runs deep. The only difference is it's not in the same city, but Amsterdam, Rotterdam, rival cities, 2 of the biggest cities in the Netherlands. I think the difference between like derbies in England and derbies in the Netherlands is in the Netherlands, it's more hooligan mentality, meaning I'm a Feyenoord supporter, but I was born and raised in Amsterdam. I couldn't walk around screaming that I'm a Feyenoord supporter because as a child, because even it'll get long. So even nowadays, even if you can't even say Amsterdam in Rotterdam, you have to say 020, which is the landline code of Amsterdam. That's how they can't even physically say Amsterdam. So that's how deep the hatred is. You get me? So, but it's always a little bro thing. Ajax, way more successful than Feyenoord, way more historically, of course. And this is why Feyenoord kind of envies and hates everything that's got to do with Amsterdam. So with Ajax, sorry. So for me, 5th, especially coming back to Holland and really taking it in. Like you said, with the Old Firm derby, these games always get played at 1 o'clock because we're not trying to get people drunk because even then it will get long. for the past 3 seasons, it's been played without away fans because
Mad.
if Rotterdam goes to Amsterdam or vice versa, long. The last edition even got cancelled because there were police strikes, and this is not a game that you want to play without police. So they cancelled it. So the Classica, yeah, man, it's extremely tense. Obviously now it's enjoyable, specifically for me, because Feyenoord are better than Ajax now. So yeah, so now the dynamic has switched, so it's even more funnier now. But yeah, that's my 5th, man, in terms of derbies. Ajax v Feyenoord. Mace, your 4th.
My 4th will be what we just witnessed today, the North London derby. Yet again, steeped in history. All started when Arsenal moved from South London to North London, occupying Spurs territory. And, you know, the beef became, I mean, in history, beef always starts from land. So we did it right. We did it proper. I think one of my favorite part of being an Arsenal fan and hating Spurs was, I can't deny it, Sol Campbell, what he did to them. I thought that's proper.
That was crazy.
What
was that? That interview, he was like, "No, that's smart."
That's what man. That's what we're talking about. Man was like scratching his chin.
Next day, bro. I saw like a video of Wenger was explaining how that all went, and I was like, this is criminal activity that can't happen again. I don't think like that, but
not that high profile player. Like what's one of Tottenham's best players, like going to their rival. Yeah, it wouldn't happen again, man. That was one for the archives, man, for sure.
Yeah, and also he came over to the good side, and he did bits. And you know that's just kind of, for me as an Arsenal fan, just tells you how much Arsenal has dominated Spurs. North London would always be red. Now let's not fuck about. You know, we are the Arsenal. Spurs will remain shit. But anyways, in the history of North London derby, we remember the Henry celebration, the slide, and he's looking down at the Spurs fans whilst they're screaming bloody and effing this. It was great, and I think for as an Arsenal fan, it is in my top 5 derbies just because of what it means to me as an Arsenal fan and the history created. Yeah, it's brilliant. North London forever.
Yeah. Let me go, because I had the North London derby 4th as well. Obviously, besides that, everything that Shalom just said, totally agree. But the games itself have always been good games. Even if I go back to like the Martin Yor days, where I think in that time Spurs kind of had you guys with the Van der Vaart days, the Aaron Leonard.
Yeah, it was close. It was getting close. Like the golf was closing.
The goal was close in them times still. So yeah, I think Arsenal Spurs is, you're always guaranteed a good game. I think the last couple of editions have not been that good, but obviously Arteta's a terrorist right now, so he's just trying to shut up shop. But yeah, North London derby has to be in the top 5, man. It's number 4 for me. So yeah, Toast, what's your 4th?
My 4th has kind of actually already been discussed. I guess you could call it the Northwest Derby. And it's funny, I just wanted to quickly say, because I saw a tweet yesterday, funny enough, where one brother on football Twitter was making the distinction that a derby is like postcode or area related, and a rivalry can be like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't kind of transcend postcodes necessarily, but I personally see, because they're both in that kind of like Northwest area, even though they might not be both in Merseyside and both in Greater Manchester, I see it as a derby. So yeah, I'm going to say number 4, the Northwest Derby, Liverpool and Man United. Yeah, man, again, for me, the Premier League's the best league in the world. English football is the best football in the world from a league perspective. And these are the 2 most decorated teams. They've kind of been going back and forth for years and years. Who's got more trophies, who's got more league titles, etc., etc. And we know on match day, like just the intensity of that rivalry. They've never liked each other. They obviously kind of want to claim to still be kind of kings of the North, man. So yeah, man, for me, It will always be that will always be a great derby, man. Liverpool, Man United, man, for sure.
Mace, your third, man.
My third is, and I cannot give a backstory to that. When I was a kid, I never understood. It was weird for me understanding the concept of two teams more or less sharing the same stadium. So I guess that kind of explains where I'm heading to. And I guess as the equivalent of that is two brothers sharing the same boxers or shirt or whatever. It's weird.
Hey, yo.
It's weird. But their history, I mean, they're one of the what's the word? Successful teams in Italy. And this is the Inter Milan, AC Milan derby. It's called if I can say it properly, the Derby della Madonia. I can't even.
Madonnina, something like that.
My Italian is crap, but forgive me for butchering that. Yeah, I mean, they've given us great players. They've given us great, just greatness. And watching that game is always interesting. I mean, nowadays it's kind of calmed down a bit just because of Italian football and Juventus dominance. But back in the days when we had just greatness and good football, it used to be one of my favorite derbies to watch. So on number 3 would be the AC Milan Inter Milan derby.
Yeah, that's a good one. That didn't even enter my top 5, you know.
Wow.
But my top 5 is strong though, but that didn't enter my top 5. But on number 3, I've got a very slept on derby that people kind of overlook. This one is also called the Classique, but in French it's called the Le Classique. And it's between PSG and Olympique Marseille. Now, if you watch these games between these two, it's always fiery. If you go to Paris, you'll probably find more Olympique Marseille fans than actual PSG fans, because PSG, they're brand new. They're like Man City. They really got a history. The Qatari era kind of. I mean, before that, they kind of had a period, but they didn't win shit with Ronaldinho and them, man. But PSG and Olympique Marseille is deep rooted. And it actually stems from people living in those cities. In terms of Paris, it's like nice, wealthy, fashion capital, and Marseille, it's like rugged, it's like hooligan, it's like if you go to the trenches, basically, exactly. So in terms of class and geographical locations, that's kind of, you know, people from Marseille despise people from Paris and vice versa. So that's kind of where it starts, and then obviously it translates into football as well. These clashes as well, man, it gets feisty. Olympique Marseille, they used to be they're actually the most successful team in France, but obviously as of recent they haven't really been winning anything. With the come up of PSG in the last 15 years, they hate each other even more, you know what I mean? So PSG is trying to snatch Olympique Marseille's chain in terms of league titles. They're coming closer and closer, but one thing that Marseille has over PSG is the Champions League, and that's what, you know, every time PSG fails, Marseille, I mean, they laugh. So I think Le Classique is extremely people don't really talk about that. I think, you know, if it comes around again, tune in, because them games are feisty, man. Extremely feisty and fun to watch as well.
I think just from the perspective that PSG have obviously kind of dominated the league title like for the last kind of couple of years, that probably, I guess, works against Marseille in that derby, I would say. Obviously, we've in the last couple of years, we've seen like Lille win the league, we've seen Lyon win the league. Did Saint Etienne win the league like a few years ago? I can't remember, but we've seen like we've not seen
Montpellier's won the league.
Montpellier and Giroud, exactly. Sorry, so I think that's probably what works against Marseille. But yeah, I'm not mad at it, man. Points were made for sure.
They're on the come up now, you know, with Money Mace. They've got Donny's there, the Zerbi as well. He's running rings from people over there. So the next Le Classique will be interesting, man. Toes, what's your third?
My third, funny enough, is the same as Mace, man. AC Milan, Inter Milan. If you kind of grew up in the UK, like especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a show called Go Lazio that would kind of come on weekly, and it would obviously kind of show all of the Italian games on a weekly basis, and I think that's kind of like where like my early kind of love for this kind of derby kind of came. One team's red, one team's blue, and sharing the same stadium is unheard of. Like, imagine Arsenal and Spurs having to share the same stadium. I know you can get a bus from Tottenham to Arsenal, but it's a complete different ball game to basically have two huge fan bases of completely different teams, both sharing the same stadium, but also living a stone's throw from the stadium as well. So you can only imagine what that derby is like on game day. Do you know what I mean, man? But yeah, man, like I said, from when Inter had, like, you know, the Rakobas and the Walter Samuels, and when, you know, AC had like the Shevchenkos, I've been watching this derby, and it's always a fun one. I feel like it's lost maybe a little bit of its spice like nowadays, and it probably doesn't get as much love as some other derbies that we've kind of referred to, but it's always one of my favorite derbies to watch whenever I get a chance to watch it, man. So yeah, that'll be my third one, man.
Yeah, man. Historically, that derby, yeah, for sure, one of the biggest ones, 100%. Mace, your second, top two.
My second has been said. Like I said, when we had coming up with this particular top five, my focus was just to deal with derbies that I have seen. So I'm not out there chatting nonsense, you know. Old Firm derby, man. I think one of the reasons why it takes second for me is that as a country like Scotland, like football knowers, no matter where you go in this world, know the Old Firm derby. Like, I guarantee you that.
They're big clubs, you know.
They're big clubs. Yeah, exactly. So we need to put some respect on like their names and like what they've done in football. Yeah, and Celtic especially and Rangers they've had proper good players play for them in history, you know. So just looking at history, looking at what they've done, we've already discussed it. Yeah, they definitely go second, and the absolute hate that runs through those two clubs, it's unheard of, man. And I don't think we understand how much they hate each other. It's nuts. So
I saw like a video online when the recent Old Firm Celtic won 3-0. And I saw like a video of like Tavernier just having a scrap with like one of the fans, one of the Scottish fans, just cussing him. It was funny as fuck. But yeah, man, like you said, the hate runs deep.
So yeah, for that, I give it my second. Give it second in my list for top 5 derbies.
Yeah, my second, it was a tough one because I could have put it first as well, but my second has to be the Northwest derby, Liverpool United. Obviously, you guys have mentioned whatever you needed to mention, but for me, yeah, growing up. I've lived in the era of Liverpool growing up where Liverpool came out of their goodness and they were shit league-wise. You know what I mean? So I've suffered. And not only that, in Holland, growing up, I've had lots of friends that supported United. Came to the UK, I've had lots of people and friends that supported United. So I've always had United fans, people chatting shit, United winning stuff, United winning the league, United beating us. But I feel like even in those times, we had the better of United plenty of times as well, especially when United came to our ground at Anfield. They, yeah. I don't remember a time where, you know, as of recent, we've beaten United 7-0, 5-0. I don't remember United beating us ever like that. It's always been close, 2-1, 1-0, 3-1 at most. But even at a shit time, we went to Old Trafford, they gave them 4. You know what I mean? So the Northwest derby, every time, whenever they came out, Liverpool, we always rose because we knew, okay, this game, whatever happened in that season, we need to win or at least show ourselves in this game, innit? So yeah, the Northwest derby is always fit, especially in the Fergie days with Houllier and Rafa Benitez. The Dalglish Roy Hodgson era, United, yeah, they moved to us. But even then, like I said, man, they ain't never given us 7. They ain't never given us 5. They ain't never given us 4. So with that, I mean, I can hold my head up high, man. But yeah, 13 13-1 is it's an abomination, and that we need to right our wrongs, man. I still maintain that United, they ain't seen the Prem in a very, very, very long time. We might not catch up to the 13, but in terms of my adult years and in terms of like my children, they will not know a good Man United, and I'm at peace with that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Fair
Toast, you're number 2.
Yeah, that one brings me joy, that last point there. But yeah, my number 2 is the North London derby. Obviously as a Tottenham fan, excuse me, as an Arsenal fan, it's just been a great rivalry. I know we've kind of previously discussed it, from the Sol Campbell move, which is obviously kind of very kind of highly talked about and touted, to Henry running the length of the pitch, scoring, sliding in front of the Tottenham fans, that going on to becoming a statue outside of the Emirates Stadium, to Arsenal going to White Hart Lane and winning the league. Colo Touré doing backflips in the stadium after winning the league, to 2006 when we finally feel as if Tottenham might have caught up to us and they have a chance to kind of win that. They have a chance to kind of qualify for the top 4, and people claiming that Wenger got his cronies to put some whatever in the Tottenham players' food in the hotel. And that made them sick. And as a result, Arsenal ended up kind of getting top 4 to the 4-4 game. We might remember, I think it was 09-10, where who was
Bentley.
it? Bentley scored from almost like the halfway line.
Almunia is blonde in your hand, prick.
Aye, to Danny Rose's debut.
To Danny Rose. That was 2010, you know. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. So to Fabregas scoring basically straight from kickoff. Yeah. We've seen some unbelievable derbies, man. Both ways. Yeah, man. So just for me, this one, obviously, we don't need to really kind of talk about how close they are in like location, but just from a games perspective, and for the most part, them always being competitive until quite recently. Yeah, man. North London derby has to be number 2 for me, man, for sure.
I think we all got the same number 1.
I was gonna say that we might as well say it together. 3, 2,
El
1.
Clasico.
El Clasico.
El Clasico.
I think I've got different iteration of El Clasicos. The Clasico, Le Clasique, El Clasico. I got 3 iterations. But yeah, El Clasico, man. Chat to me. Why is that not undisputed?
For me, I would deal with the whole Sol Campbell thing. Figo. I mean,
yeah, that's iconic as well, man.
That is bastardization of like that. You know what, man? For love him or hate him, I'm trying to get his name now. Perez.
Calderon?
No,
Perez. Yeah.
He has been so good for Madrid as what he's done. He's a bastard in things he's done, but he is a great bastard for what he's done.
Good president.
President. And what he's done, you have to respect it. You have to salute. So yeah, getting Figo, that was big. That was just taking not that guy that you hate, taking his woman. That's basically the version of it. You're taking his woman.
That's that Nines meme where it's like, it's your chain.
Yeah,
Come and collect your chains.
Bro, that's what he did. That's what he did. Snatched it to people chucking pigs at Figo, like at the games. It was crazy. You know, so that is steeped in history, is one of the craziest thing to do. And of course, the Clasico has given us so many good games. From top of my head, Ronaldinho running a muck at the Bernabeu to everyone clapping him off. Messi doing the same. I remember that the year of Henry and that when they beat Madrid, was it 6-7-1, something crazy like that?
5-1, I think.
5-6-1. Yeah, and Ronaldo, the Ronaldo era, the Ronaldo Messi era,
Karma.
Gareth Bale, running,
Copa del Rey
final.
Yeah,
bro, even Mourinho as well. Like it's been crazy.
Guardiola, Mourinho, that was peak. Peak El Clasico them times, bro.
And I don't give Messi too much credit, but I think it was the Champions League semi-final where he just made one mad run and then on his right foot just kind of slotted it into the bottom corner. Like that was
Ronaldo
game,
on his knees trying to catch up. I'll never forget that picture. Ronaldo on his knees.
And we can't forget like the amount of red cards we've seen in that derby as well, man. Like Sergio Ramos and Pepe, all the dark arts that they've done over the years in that derby, man. I think just from my perspective, at least, obviously that derby being my number one. All respect to like Liverpool and stuff and what they've kind of done historically, but with Barcelona and Real, like we've seen them dominate the league as well, like on a consistent basis throughout the years, which is kind of they've basically just been kind of like the 1 and 2 from at least in our generation of kind of consistently winning the league, you know. So yeah, man, multiple Champions Leagues, multiple leagues. Yeah, man. I mean, it has to be. Even if you don't even watch Spanish football, man, you're gonna tune in to watch the Clasico. You feel me?
So yeah, Barcelona, Real Madrid. I've got a trivia question. Who scored more goals in the El Clasico, Messi or Ronaldo?
I'm gonna say Messi on the basis that he's definitely played more games in Spain, obviously. So by default, surely he must have got more goals.
Do you know how many goals?
It's a lot. I'll say like 30.
Less,
yeah.
I want to say 12.
More.
21.
So Messi scored 26 goals in 45 El Clasico appearances. Ronaldo 18 in 30 appearances.
Fair.
So yeah, man.
I know whose ratio I'm taking, boy, but quick maths.
Yeah, Ronaldo's ratio is better, but come on, man. What Messi's done in El Clasico, you can't even like compare the mark in it. But let's quickly cover the game week for the remaining games. It's been a big week. Obviously, it started with United with a big win, much needed win for them against Southampton. Much has been said about Southampton, about the way they play, style of play. What do you guys think? Because in terms of like icks in football, this is one of my huge icks of football. Shit teams trying to play out from the back. And I'm not necessarily referring to Southampton, but I see this a lot in the Dutch league as well, where like shit teams are playing against clearly teams that love to high press, and you're still trying to play from the back. This is why Big Sam and Tony Pulis and them, man, they need to come back because
it's the Pep syndrome.
I totally agree. Like I love a team that has a system, and I'm all for, you know, you work on a particular system in training and you want to kind of execute it in matches. But even speaking about Southampton, I don't know if you guys caught the highlights of the Brentford-Southampton game. They were insistent on playing out from the back, and 2 of the goals basically came from just their inability to do that. And you don't, in the Premier League, you don't get like opportunities to try stuff out. Championship is 46 games long, innit? Like if you want to try stuff out, you're playing every Monday, every Thursday, and every Sunday. By all means, innit, man? But when you're playing the top teams and you're particularly a team that probably doesn't have the quality of the other teams in the Premier League, you'll get exposed, man. So you need to find a fine line between having a system and, yeah, man, just doing stuff that's not going to harm you from a results perspective, man. So, yeah, man, crazy. But, sorry, I'll let you continue because I've got a lot to say about that United game, actually.
It's a game of fine margins, you know. Toast, just to slip in. Say Cameron Archer slots in that penalty, perhaps that game might be different.
Different game, man.
But then, looking at how Southampton were playing, it just didn't kind of ginger me. And compare Southampton to Leicester, how they play. Like Leicester can hold their own against Premier League teams just because they have Vardy, they have Ndidi, they have the guy from the Spurs who they got not too long ago that plays the 6. I'll think about his name later on. Let me do it now.
Ollie Skip.
Ollie Skip. Yeah, so they have Premier League quality there as opposed to Southampton. It's just not gingering me as much. But yeah, the Prem is full of it's basic margins, man. And Southampton, boy, they're getting relegated. That's all I can say. Him and Ramsdale, they're doing They're gone, boy. They're
We
gone.
love to see it, man.
They're gone. But yeah, Toast, go ahead. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, not at all, man. Yeah, just kind of on. While I appreciate like the style they played in that game, and like Russell Martin is kind of true to form in terms of how he wants them to play. Yeah, man. One incident in a game can completely turn a match on its head, particularly for a team like Southampton. Like I'm convinced that they get a result from that game if they score the penalty. And for me, it's schoolboy as well, man. Like understanding that Cameron Archer, fine, he's a 9 and he was playing 9 because obviously I don't understand Brereton Diaz was out on the wing for the majority of the game. He's never taken a penalty in his professional career, I understand. While Brereton Diaz, I saw is 7 for 7 in his career for penalties. So for me, it's like that should be something that's discussed personally before the game. I don't know if it's a case of if Russell Martin has decided that Cameron Archer is the penalty taker, then that's just poor management on my part. Because if Brereton Diaz has 100% penalty record, I don't see why Brereton Diaz doesn't take that penalty. That penalty gets saved, and we know what happened. Like not too long after, United kind of go on and take the lead, and it was ball game after that. You never really saw it like Southampton kind of getting into the game. So it's the fine margins that I feel as if these kind of teams that come into the Premier League don't seem to kind of understand, like the fine margins of kind of how impactful that can be in a game, the fine margins of being insistent on playing out from the back when sometimes it just needs to go long, So yeah, man, it's a shame because I definitely felt as if Southampton were kind of in that game and they massively shot themselves in the foot, man. So
also on United, there's not a lot of times a team win 3-0 and you think that's a shit performance. I saw that game and I left thinking that's a shit performance.
United aren't a good team.
Am I bullshitting? No, I
They're
wasn't
not a good
bullshitting.
I was there as well, man.
Yeah,
I think even United fans that I spoke to, they were just, it didn't really felt like a 3-0 win.
3-0, no.
You got a shameless dance like Char and them, you know what I mean? That will gloat about this, but
yeah. But also just to laugh, right? Come hell or high water, Rashford was scores against fucking Ramsdale. I don't know why. I don't know why. He always manages to score against Ramsdale. I really don't know why. It's funny. I just laughed. But yeah.
All right, man. Brighton v Ipswich 0-0. Crystal Palace v Leicester 2-2. Jean-Philippe Mateta 2 goals. JB Vardy again with a goal. Eddie Nketiah, they're saying he was hooping out there. I saw various tweets from Palace fans.
The Palace
they
fans
were like, they were at him, but now they're like, hey, 30 million.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, me and you must have the same timeline, my brother, because the Palace fans were like, oh, they can't believe Arsenal let this brother go. And he didn't even bag. That's the crazy thing. So, I mean, I didn't see the highlights of the game.
I saw the game.
But it looks like he really impressed them, man. It looks like
I mean, I keep saying in life and especially in football, just levels to this. Like you can see a player who plays with a top 14. You can see how he moves. You can see just how different he is. And I think that's what the Crystal Palace looking and thinking, actually, this is a good player there. So yeah, he played well. I'm not sure how playing him and Jean-Philippe Mateta is going to go. They're going to need to work on that link up, because what happens is it leaves their midfield kind of open, because there's not an extra man in there just to fill up that midfield and make it just one striker. But in general, I thought Eddie played really well. Jean-Philippe Mateta is going to score. He's going to do what he's going to do. But Eze needs to leave that club. You can tell he's the man. Like whenever he just demands the ball, they pass it. He's like the Don Dada. He's what Zaha used to be for Crystal Palace back in the days, where the ball just goes to him to create the magic. But yeah, and Nketiah did his thing. Hopefully he scores. I do see good things for him at Palace. I think that's his level. And long may it continue.
Long may it continue, man. Fulham v West Ham 1-0. One of the 3 p.m. games, and then Liverpool v Nottingham Forest 0-1. Now, obviously, prior to this game, Slot was praised to the heavens. It was Liverpool 3 out of 3. It was Liverpool haven't conceded a goal. it was Liverpool. It seemed like they got the hardest out of the, quite easy start for them out of the way against United. After the international break, it's 2 home games against relative, on paper, easy teams to combat. And we had a tough afternoon against Nottingham Forest in the sense of breaking down their low block. They punished us severely when Elanga and Cho came on. Great crossfield pass from Elanga to Cho, and then Cho, that's his bread and butter, man. The cutting in. However, I do feel like, first of all, I don't want to take nothing away from the shot. It was a very, 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 very good shot, and he deceived Alisson. But I think Alisson thought it was going wide. I don't think Alisson was rating the shot, because I think if Alisson committed, he would have saved that, and he could have saved that. He's not easily, but Alisson looked like he thought. First of all, it's Cho. He's not bending this in. This is going wide. He got sucker punched. But
do you think because Konate was out there busting it open for Cho, that kind of
you man are forced to it.
So it's like back. I just saw back. I'm like, what are you doing there, bro? What are you doing there? What kind of defending is there, boy? Like,
he wasn't close. He didn't close down the thing properly.
I think maybe perhaps it was Cho cleverly used Konate to bend it in, and that obviously stopped the vision, and it went in. It's a good goal. It's a very good goal. So you
100%, man.
Yeah, if Alisson could see the ball coming, then he would have. And I agree with you. He's a very good keeper. He would have saved it. But with Konate out there trying to twerk for Cho, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Great goal.
Hey, free Konate, man. That's my dog. But yeah, man. I was left pretty disappointed, because I just looked at these next 2 games that we have at home. We got Bournemouth next. Just like try and keep pace points wise with City. Try and match them because obviously I knew the next game for City was Arsenal, and that could either be a draw. I don't know if I see Arsenal winning at the Emirates, but it's possible. So someone is dropping points. It's at the Etihad, exactly. So I was like, someone's dropping points. So let's keep up appearances with City, but obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, I feel like we go again, man. We have to charge this match to the game. Toast, any points from you?
Other than the fact that obviously Liverpool fans, they were a little bit excited after the first 3 games, 9 points, clean sheet, 3 clean sheets, top of the league. Hey man, you have to respect the sanctity of the Premier League, man, innit, man? Like, so you guys were probably expecting to collect today, and this early kind of September humble pie, man, will keep you guys in good stead to continue on the rest of the season, man. But yeah, man, obviously delighted to see Liverpool lose. Yeah, man, it's good to humble those Liverpool fans, isn't it, man? So we'll take that.
I know my time will come next Sunday, man. It's all good, man.
Okay, just to play devil's advocate really quick for the Liverpool fans, I'm here for you pricks. Anyways, you could have argued that Diaz and McAllister obviously were probably jet lagged because they would have to travel. Could you say that? I mean,
yeah, I think a lot of Liverpool fans were saying that. They were saying that, Diaz shouldn't have started. People were surprised that Chiesa wasn't at least on the bench, because apparently he trained well. He was super fit. People were shocked that Jota started over Darwin, because Darwin didn't have any international commitments because he's banned. So Darwin was fresh.
Yeah.
But again, it's Darwin, in it, so I kind of get that. But Diaz and McAllister, we could have rested them and brought them on, and I think that would have had a better impact than bringing on Gakpo and Darwin to change the game. Know what I mean? The other way around. So I think there was murmurs of that. Maybe Slot had it wrong, trusting his 11, but he needs to learn that rotation is the name of the game, man. And
facts. Quickly, Drew. Let me name your bench, right? And I'm going to ask the question. Right. So this is your bench. So it's Kelleher, Gomez, Shimikas, Kwanzaa, Endo, Jones, Conor Bradley, Nunez, and Gakpo. And I'll go a step further. So, of course, you would think Bradley will play a right back and Trent will now move to the midfield as the game progressive. That's what Slot was thinking. Yeah. Cool. So Robertson for Tsimikas, Gakpo for Luis Diaz, Nunez for Jota, Curtis Jones comes in. Question is, who leaves for Chiesa? Because the names I've just mentioned, I think are pretty good start like bench names. So who gets dropped for Chiesa? That's an interesting point I was looking at yesterday. And I want to put it to
and that's the hard part for Slot to try and figure that out. It will probably he has to rely on suspension or injury for Chiesa to have a look in. But for me, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe like a Jones, but then you need a midfielder. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. It's difficult for Klopp to try and figure out. And I think this is part of the reason why Liverpool didn't really go ham in the transfer market, because you already got good players and a good bench already at the club. So what do you add to it? Unless it's like a top level player that you can't get, you can't really do much. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, let's see, man. I'll charge this to the game. I'll see this as a blip, and we'll move on to next week, man, against Bournemouth. City, we spoke about them earlier, but they beat Brentford 2-1, courtesy of Haaland, 2 goals again. Haaland was going to make it a hat-trick of hat-tricks. He was very close to getting that, but lucky for us, that didn't happen. Aston Villa turned a 2-0 deficit over to a 3-2 win. Watkins and a Duran slapper. Bins. What a winner, man. What a way to sign off.
You know, the funny thing, quickly, that's more of a game of how Everton screwed themselves over twice again than really Aston Villa winning that game.
Yeah, I agree. Because they could have, Everton could have been 4-0 up.
DCL, what was he doing? You square the ball or at least shoot. What are you doing? Bro,
especially at that angle. I don't even know. At that angle, it's like this. He's coming like this and he's trying to cut the keeper from here. It's not even, it's weird, man, but DCO in it. Bournemouth v Chelsea 0-1. Chelsea with a late winner and Nkunku. I think this game was similar to like the United Southampton game, I feel, where Bournemouth, but not in a way where Southampton will really pam in United whole game. Yeah. But I felt like Bournemouth were pamming Chelsea the whole game, bro.
Yeah.
But they just lack that cutting edge and quality.
They can feel hard. Yeah, they can feel definitely hard done by losing that game at the end, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Spurs, Arsenal, we already discussed that. And then Newcastle turned it around against Wolves. I quickly want to touch on Wolves because I think Wolves are a decent team, man. But they always end up losing or dropping points somehow, somewhere. And even today as well, they had the majority of the game in their pocket, but for some reason, they end up losing the game. Did you guys catch it?
Yeah. No, I did as well, man. I was surprised as well. Again, I like Gary O'Neill. I like what he did for the Wolves last season, and it's been a really, really tough start for them. Understandably, this year, I think they've lost 4 straight. But I'm confident that if they give him time, and I think they will, because I think he's actually like a really class manager. I think they'll be fine. I don't see that squad as a relegation team. And yeah, they'll put together some results, man, 100%. So,
bro, they're lacking the mentality. I think they lack the mentality side of the game. I mean, if you look at the quality they have just for man, you think these guys are ballers. You can't watch your takeaway from watching Wolves isn't this is a shit team. Individually, they have good players. Then you have to ask yourself, what's the problem? And I think the problem is just they lack the mentality to want to say, okay, no, you're not conceding. We're going to make this tough for you, and we're going to win the game. I feel like sometimes Wolves just want to play like you're playing a five-a-side outside. We're just gonna enjoy the game. I'm going to score good goals, and that's it. There isn't that mentality of urgency. Like, okay, this three points or nothing. They don't have that 3 points of nothing mentality. They just want to play football. And for purists, that's fine. But we don't live in that world most of the time. It's a 3-point world. It's results-based business. And Toast, I know you said they are going to be fine, but I don't know, man. I feel like what Wolves are going to do is they will just kind of go through the league and might flirt with relegation, but they will be there. But you know what I mean? Like they'll be kind of like 14th, 15th. That's what they're going to do until they sort it, until they sort how like the makeup of the team. Because you can't lie, Wolves' strategy is buy young, sell. That's the strategy. They buy like young players in Europe and in Brazil. They're good enough. They sell and then they reinvest. But even with that, you should have some sort of structure with how you want your team to play. Like good football is good, but come on, common sense. Yeah. Anyways, that's basically Wolves.
Wolverhampton and that shitty town of theirs. Let's head over to the bar, man. As usual, that hasn't changed. Any shots to close off the episode?
Yeah, of course, man. Got a quick shot, man. Want to shout out my young gunners like Thierry because it's a really important performance, really important victory, really important 3 points. We saw one of our rivals lose at home this weekend. We were down our starting 10, down our starting 8, down 2 of our best players. And yeah, man, managed to pull out a result, keep a clean sheet. We keep it stepping, going into a big game against Man City. It's always good to kind of go into a game like that with the momentum of a W. So yeah, man, checked into the suite this weekend. We go again next weekend, man.
Yeah.
Any shots for you?
I'm taking the same shot like Toast had, maybe plus more. What else? Is there any other shots I have? Yeah, shot to Cho, because I honestly thought his career was done and gone. You know what I mean? But he's making a resurgence, and that's good because it's a shame to see talent go to waste. And more importantly, I feel like he's enjoying playing at Forest. That cohort of him and Olaina, that's looking good. I like when footballers are actually enjoying themselves, and Elanga, etc. Like, it's good. So shout to him. And yeah, and for him making my weekend even better, because it was taking a shit on Liverpool and making Konate do Konate things. So yeah, that's my shot.
You man lack focus, man. Oh my days. Nah, but in terms of your shot with Cho, I want to take that as well, man, because those that know me, been a huge Cho fan from early, and I'm a believer. People forget that, his first full season in Chelsea's first team, he was about to make big money moves to Bayern Munich, and Chelsea rejected 3-4 times. So you know what kind of talent we're dealing with here. You get me? So I was vexed that obviously that we conceded, but I was kind of somewhere I felt happiness because it was showing and that he's making his resurgence, man. So I'm definitely taking that shot as well. I want to take a shot as well for Ryan Gravenberch. Yeah, Donny from Ends, man. He's from literally the same Ends from where I grew up. And I'm just happy to see his career going into, he's picking it up again. He's playing in a different position that he's used. Although he's played there for Ajax, but that's kind of different, and that was under Ten Hag. We don't care about that. But now, after not getting our main 6, we've kind of trusted Ryan Gravenberch to do the job, and he's passing it with flying colors. I thought he was the only respectable guy in the game, in the loss against Forest. He was the only one that played good, to be honest. So flowers to Gravenberch, not only for Liverpool, but for the Dutch national team. He was doing the same thing, just busting it in the midfield, collecting the ball, spraying it, traveling. And I just hope that he keeps it up, man, because huge talent, man. Like Shalom said, huge talent. We don't like to see it go to waste. You feel me? Yeah, that was the end of this episode. Our first episode from back, but we still continue episode 203. Like, subscribe, and follow us on the VARBAR podcast on the socials. But make sure you you like this video, man. We need it for the algorithms. Subscribe as well. Share with your friends and family.
Give us your opinions. Give us your opinions, man. Like,
comment,
engage.
All of that.
Man.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, and obviously City are going to court tomorrow as well, so we'll be keeping a keen eye on that, because I've got 2 trophies now. I got 2 prems to collect still, so
them man are
we'll
rolling
probably
up to
cover
court.
that.
50 lawyers, man. Them criminals, man.
Hey,
I hope
You
them man
niggas
get
in
back.
trouble.
Struggle.
You niggas in trouble. That video stops every time. Just it. All right, peace.
Peace.
In a bit.